So there really isn't a right or wrong way to breathe in yoga, but your breathing can make a difference. Do you know what I mean? So how you breathe in yoga and the most effective way to breathe in yoga really depends on why you do yoga. The physical yoga that we practice is highly individual, and not everyone has the same goal. Some people come to yoga just to move, just to improve kind of joint mobility, to feel stronger, for community, whilst others have a very specific goal in how flexible they want to get. So how you breathe really aligns with what your goal is. So at our studio, I tend to put people into two categories. There is one group of yoga practitioners who come in and they don't really have a goal that revolves around flexibility. Their goal is just to move, just to feel better about their bodies, just to kind of ensure optimum physical health. These practitioners may prefer a more faster paced yoga style, which is more kind of fitness based rather than flexibility based. And this is a perfect reason to come to yoga, by the way, because yoga is not about flexibility, and I cannot emphasize that enough. So if you're one of these practitioners who prefers a faster paced, more vinyasa style of yoga, how you breathe doesn't really matter. Ideally, you breathe in through your nose and you breathe diaphragmatically. So you use your belly to breathe as much as you can. So rather than kind of your chest and neck. But saying that, if you are breathing using kind of secondary respiratory muscles, which are chest and neck, it doesn't really matter. When you do a faster paced style of yoga, what's more important is managing your breathing after class and trying to bring your breathing back down to kind of a pre-yoga class level. So if you were breathing using your chest and neck, you don't really want to carry that pattern on through the rest of the day. You want your brain to understand that you're breathing this way because you're exercising, but once you're done, you can go back to breathing from your diaphragm, from your belly. Faster paced yoga, it doesn't really matter how you breathe. We want to breathe as much as we can from our bellies, but breathing from your chest and neck doesn't matter. What's more important is how you breathe after. And then there's a second category of people who come to yoga to improve flexibility. Now that may be a personal goal, someone, for example, who says I want to do the splits by the end of the year. And in my experience, most of that is rehab based, where someone is told you need to improve flexibility in a certain area and you need to go to yoga. For this type of practitioner, it is absolutely imperative that they breathe 99% of their time from their belly, from their diaphragm. And I know I've said this before in previous videos, but I need to emphasize why. In the most simplistic explanation, and I appreciate the science is much more complicated, but I don't really want to go there. When we breathe from our bellies and when we breathe slowly, and by slow I mean a 4-count inhale and a 6-count exhale, this type of breathing and the pace of breathing tells the brain that there is an absence of stress. When there is an absence of stress, there is no need for the muscles to be on edge or to be on alert, ready to kind of run and escape. And the muscles are then more receptive to being stretched. If the breathing changes and the brain starts to use kind of the chest and neck or the secondary respiratory muscles to help, it's because the brain senses some stress. And when the brain senses stress, it sends blood rushing to the very muscles that we're trying to relax. And you know this is happening because the heart rate increases. So essentially now, because the brain processes stress, your muscles are on alert, they're on standby, they are getting ready to kind of accelerate and help you escape the situation you're in that the brain thinks is stressful. And in some yoga poses, that stress is actually quite important. So if you think about cortisol being released into your body, it's needed to create heightened alertness. So when you're doing, say, your handstand or quite an advanced standing pose, you're much more aware of your surroundings and your muscles are much more active to help you from falling over. But say I'm in Janu Shirshasana, say I'm in a single leg hamstring stretch, there's no threat, I'm not out of balance, and there's no reasons for my muscles to be active and alert. I need them to relax, and the only way to achieve that is to breathe from my belly and then breathe slowly. Or kind of, they're not exclusive. Like if you breathe slowly, you'll feel yourself naturally breathing more from your diaphragm. And if you just breathe from your diaphragm, you'll feel yourself breathing slower. Essentially, if the brain perceives no threat, the muscles will relax. Essentially, they become more flexible. So if you do yoga because you have a bad back and you've been told that you need to improve flexibility in certain areas, which is actually really common, your muscles are always alert. And there's a reason they tend to spasm, because they're trying to protect you. It's going to take kind of classes and classes of belly breathing to tell the brain that these muscles can and should relax. And only after a prolonged period of time will they actually relax, and will you see any benefit. So you can see now what I mean by it depends. How you breathe in yoga aligns with your goal and why you do yoga. So as a summary, if you just like to move, if you just like to go through the poses, ensuring kind of joint strength and health and movement, which is a perfectly fair reason to be doing yoga. Again, yoga is not about flexibility. It doesn't really matter how you breathe. What's more important is how you breathe after. And if you're like me and there are certain parts of the body where you want to improve flexibility, either for your own goal, or it kind of aligns with rehabilitation, then you need to breathe more from your belly, and you need to choose a slower pace style of yoga. This slower pace will allow you to slow your breathing down, breathe from your diaphragm, tell the muscles there's no stress, therefore they stretch and relax. Any physiology sciencey people watching this video, I fully appreciate how this explanation is very simplified. That is my intention. I don't want to overcomplicate things by throwing sciencey terms out there and no one's going to know what I'm talking about. You can also combine different types of breathing. So when I do my wife's class, during the standing poses, I'm not too concerned with my breathing, and if I am kind of breathing more from here, it's not ideal, but it doesn't worry me. And when it comes to doing inversions, I need to be breathing in a stressed zone, because again, I need that alertness, that awareness that this stress response creates. When we sit down to do the seated poses, it's important now that I manage my breathing and that I'm not still in stress zone, and that I am breathing from my diaphragm. If I breathe as much as I can from my belly, 4 in and 6 out for the duration of the seated poses, I am now working towards improving flexibility. Whereas if I spend the entire time doing seated poses, breathing kind of more from here, and my heart rate hasn't slowed down, I'm actually resisting my own stretching. I'm completely contradicting what I'm trying to get. I'm asking my muscle to stretch, yet it's screaming back at me saying, well, I'm processing stress, so I'm not going to stretch. I hope that makes sense. I should write a script and then read off the script. It might make more sense then. If you have any questions for me, feel free to catch me at the studio. It's a very, very important subject to understand, but at the same time, you can just go through enjoying yoga, enjoying life without worrying about it too much. Anyway, I think I'm out of here.